Do you know why Rick James was known as Super Freak? He was known for his wild parties which involved many women and drugs. Rick James gained fame for his unique and exuberant style of funk music, characterized by its energetic and unconventional approach. Alongside his musical prowess, he was instantly recognizable for his distinctive trademark cornrow braids, which became an iconic part of his image. Rick James' lust for women and substance use was the highlight of his life. Did Rick James have a beef with Prince? So, if you're a Rick James fan or simply curious about this legend, hit the like button and let's dive in. Rick James' early life was marked by challenging circumstances and a deep connection to music. He was born on February 1, 1948, and grew up in Buffalo, New York. His family life was complex, with his father, James Ambrose Johnson, Sr., being described as abusive and eventually leaving when James was just 8 years old. His mother, Mabel Gladden, worked as a cleaner during the day and engaged in illicit activities by night, running numbers for the Italian mafia in Buffalo. James was the third child among 8 siblings. His journey into the world of music began when his mother took him to a nightclub where she was involved in her nighttime activities. At a tender age of less than 10, James sat under a table behind the bandstand, watching Etta James perform. This experience left a lasting impression on him, sparking his aspiration to become a performer. Despite the challenging circumstances, James attended Catholic schools initially. However, he faced multiple expulsions that disrupted his education. In the late 1950s, his family moved to the Perry Housing Project in Buffalo, a neighborhood that had been previously all white. It was during this time that he started attending public junior high. Despite the change in surroundings, James continued to struggle academically, facing expulsion from 2 high schools before ultimately deciding to drop out. Did Rick James join the Navy? In order to escape the draft, Rick James joined U.S. Navy at a very young age of 14 to 15 by lying about his age. During this time, he started performing as a drummer with a local band, but when he missed his monthly sessions at USS Enterprise, he was ordered to Vietnam. He fled to Toronto while still serving in the Navy. Later, Rick was arrested by the U.S. Navy after his location and identity was revealed by the financial backer of his group following a disagreement. He spent 1 year in prison and after release went to California and continued his musical career. How he got into music. When Rick James fled to Toronto from serving in Vietnam, he collaborated with emerging musicians like Joni Mitchell and Neil Young under the alias Ricky James Matthews. During this time, he formed the band, the Mina Birds, and created music that blended soul, funk, and rock genres. After his time in Toronto, Rick James moved to Detroit, where he had the opportunity to meet his musical idol, Stevie Wonder. Wonder convinced him to shorten his stage name to Rick James. Being the nephew of Melvin Franklin from The Temptations, James was no stranger to the Motown music scene. In the mid-60s, his band was signed to Motown, but they recorded a few tracks that were never released, possibly due to James' military troubles and the band members relocating to Los Angeles. Following this, James went to London, where he formed a blues band called The Main Line. Over the next 7 years, he commuted between London and North America while working as a staff songwriter for Motown in the late 60s. In 1977, he returned to the US and formed a new band, the Stone City Band, with which he experimented by blending rock and funk, creating a style he termed a funk and roll. In 1978, Berry Gordy re-signed Rick James to Motown. He released the album Come Get It, which produced 2 chart-topping songs, You and I, which went gold in September, and Mary Jane, a track that indirectly referred to marijuana and reached number 3 on the US R&B charts in October. His next album, Bustin' Out of L7, marked the start of his first U.S. Fire It Up tour, during which he was joined by the Mary Jane Girls, a group he created, and a young singer named Prince. This collaboration was a significant opportunity for Prince, and it led to comparisons between the 2 artists, fueling an ongoing rivalry between them. Rick James indeed became an iconic figure known for his flamboyant lifestyle, drug use, and eroticism in the music industry. However, as time passed, his extravagant lifestyle began to take its toll on him. Was Rick James jealous of Prince? He did experience some jealousy toward Prince, especially after the massive commercial success of Prince's album, Purple Rain. This jealousy led to the cancellation of his plans to star in an autobiographical film called The Spice of Life. What are the biggest songs of Rick James? Rick James had several big hits throughout his career. Some of his most notable and popular songs include 1. Super Freak. This is perhaps Rick James' most iconic song and is instantly recognizable for its infectious bass line and catchy chorus. It was a massive hit and remains a classic in funk and pop music. 2. Give It To Me Baby, another chart-topping hit. This song is known for its energetic groove and James' charismatic vocals. 3. Mary Jane, a funky track that became a fan favorite and remains one of his signature songs. 4. You and I. This ballad was one of Rick James' biggest commercial successes and showcased his versatility as an artist. 5. Cold-Blooded. This funky and upbeat track was well received and a staple of Rick James' live performances. 6. Glow, the title track from one of his albums. This song features his trademark sound and style. 7. Fire and Desire, a duet with Tina Marie. This ballad is known for its soulful vocals and passionate lyrics. 8. Dance With Me, a danceable and groovy track that was popular in the clubs. 9. 17, another upbeat and catchy song that showcases James' ability to create infectious melodies. 10. Ebony Eyes, another successful duet, this time with Smokey Robinson, featuring smooth R&B vocals and a memorable melody. These are some of the biggest and most enduring songs from Rick James' career, but he had many other hits and contributed significantly to the funk and R&B genres. Way Rick James gay. Over the years, rumors about Rick James being gay have circulated in both mainstream media and gossip circles. These speculations often arise due to societal stereotypes or assumptions based on his flamboyant on-stage persona and fashion choices. Despite the speculation, there is no concrete evidence to suggest that Rick James identified as gay or bisexual. Who was Rick James married to? Sybil Morgan. Rick James and Sybil Morgan, a former singer and songwriter, had 2 children together, a daughter named Tyenza and a son named Rick Jr. Linda Blair. Rick James had a romantic relationship with actress Linda Blair. He got in touch with her after he read an article where she expressed her attraction to him. Regrettably, shortly after they began dating, she became pregnant and had to undergo an abortion. This was a challenging decision for James, and he later wrote about it in his book. Tanya Hijazi. In 1989, Rick James crossed paths with Tanya Hijazi, a 17-year-old partygoer. Their romantic relationship officially started in 1990. In 1993, the couple welcomed their only child, Tasman, who also happens to be Rick James' youngest child. After both of them were released from prison for separate incidents involving assaults on Mary Sauger and Francis Alley, they decided to tie the knot in 1996. However, their marriage eventually came to an end in 2002 through divorce proceedings. Interestingly, even after their divorce, Rick James and Tanya Hijazi remained close friends and collaborators, working on music projects together. Who are Rick James' children? Ty James. She is the daughter of the late funk singer Rick James and Sybil Morgan. When Ty James reconnected with her father, he was fully immersed in a lavish lifestyle. Her mother had previously taken custody of their 2 children, including Rick Jr., during their childhood due to his tumultuous behavior, leading to severed contact. While the musician enjoyed a life of luxury, they struggled to make ends meet in the toughest areas of Los Angeles. Among Rick James' 4 children, Ty assumed the role of president of her father's estate. Tasman James. Rick James's youngest son, is pursuing a career in music, but in a different genre as a rapper. In 2002, when Tasman was approximately 10 years old, his parents went through a divorce. Tragically, when he was just 12 years old, his father passed away due to pulmonary and cardiac failure at the age of 54. This occurred in his Los Angeles apartment in August 2004. Trey Hardesty James. He is the son of American singer Rick James. He is a popular American entrepreneur, fantasy sports expert, poker player, media personality, and social media influencer. He is also known as the CEO and co-founder of the firm Career Fitter. Rick James Jr. He is a rapper with numerous songs. He was raised by Tina Marie, who was a former girlfriend and fiancée of his father. How did Rick James die? Rick James passed away in 2004 at the age of 56. His cause of death was attributed to pulmonary failure and cardiac failure, which were associated with his numerous health issues, including diabetes, a stroke, the use of a pacemaker, and a history of heart attacks. Additionally, his long history of drug use played a significant role in his untimely demise. A toxicology report showed the presence of 9 different drugs in his system at the time of his death, highlighting the adverse effects of his substance abuse on his health. His legacy. Rick James indeed has left a lasting legacy in the world of music. One significant part of his legacy is his induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was posthumously inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015. This recognition reflects his influence on the funk and R&B genres and his contributions to the music industry as a whole. Rick James' unique style and hits continue to be celebrated by fans and musicians alike, solidifying his place in music history.